Since it was reborn in 1948, Israel has been despised by its neighbors who refused to recognize it as a country. Arabs made it clear that they opposed any Jewish presence in the Middle East by laying claim to all of the territory as Arab land. This existential threat would lead to a series of brutal conflicts. Several years and two major wars later, Israel had managed to become an important player in the region. In June 1967, facing a looming threat from its neighbors, Israel launched a preemptive strike against Egypt. Against all odds, Israel achieved a complete victory in 6 days, capturing the West Bank from Jordan, the Golan Heights from Syria, and both the Gaza Strip and the Sinai Peninsula from Egypt. Saddled with this history of failure, Nasser's successor, Anwar Sadat, sought to restore the honor of the Egyptian nation. Sadat understood that the humiliation from Egypt's collapse in the Six-Day War still hung heavy on the minds of his countrymen, and so dismantling the aura of Israeli invincibility would not be easy. With that in mind, he and other Arab leaders sought to help in preparing a surprise attack against Israel. Their armies flaunted all the modern weaponry, which the Soviet Union had supplied them with. In 1970, Hafez al-Assad seized power in Syria through a military coup. His primary goals were to build a sense of national unity and to increase respect for his country. In April 1973, Israeli intelligence picked up signals intelligence suggesting that the Arabs intended to launch a war with a May launch date. The immediate response of the IDF High Command was to draw up a plan, codename Blue-White, for another confrontation. However, there was no consensus about whether or not Israel should implement this plan. Some analysts felt that the probability of an attack was still quite low and maintained their support for the intelligence theory known as the concept. The principal claim made by the concept was that the Arabs would not launch a renewed attack on Israel until at least 1975. Ultimately, as the IDF leadership became increasingly concerned with the developments, the Blue-White plan was put into motion and the IDF mobilized its forces. While the Egyptian army indeed initiated military activity along the Suez, a full offensive against Israel never materialized. The most debilitating result of the May 1973 mobilization was that it cost Israel a fortune. The IDF High Command vowed that such a mistake would never occur again.